This is Chapter 7 of Getting to Know ArcGIS, and we're doing exercise 7B, which begins on page 218, and the actual hands-on instructions start on page 219. Number one, I've still got the map open here. I just got through section 7A, and so this is still open, but we're going to go on, and we're going to do a file open, and we're going to look for, I need to go up a level here, we want exercise 7B's map, and click on open. And this looks an awful lot like the one we did in 7A. And let's go on to number 2 here. In the table of contents, right-click State Parks and click Open the Attribute Table. So here's State Parks. I want to right-click and open the Attribute Table. And remember, that will show me, if this is the State Parks layer, then I assume that each row represents one state park. And so each row in the Attribute Table will have the information corresponding to a given state park. And we won't find out exactly what that is until we come in here and look at all of the column headings, okay? Now, most of this stuff here is not going to mean much to most people looking at it, but the site name is easy. District, I'm not sure what a district is in Florida, but they must have the state divided up into districts. Counties, and then we've got some options here about whether you have to pay to get in or not. I don't know what DRP stands for. This kind of looks like it probably is a direction, north, south, east, or west. Don't know what this is. This owner of the park, I don't know what that means either. If they're state parks, but maybe that's some government agency. And description tells us the number of acres in the park, and this looks like a date, but I don't know what FGDLAQ, all that stands for. And a little bit about the length and the area of it. So a lot of this stuff is just kind of some raw mapping data, but some of it's useful data that you can use to figure out what the components of your map are. Okay, so what it wants us to look for is the public access column here, and it says there are 2 public access categories: open, fee required, and open, no fee required. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. And now we're going to close this and open the layer properties of state parks. So now let's go to right click, and the layer properties are down here. So we've got an attribute table, which is the data behind the layer, and then we've got the properties, which is information about how the layer looks on the screen. So that's the difference between the two. Under, let me see, we want to go to the Symbology tab. And Symbology just refers to the lines or the dots, points, or the polygons, and their colors and any other attributes. So we want to go to the show box here, and we want to click categories, and unique values is selected by default. And so what we're going to do is in the value field list right here, we can tell which column we want to look at, and we want to look at public access. And then we want to click on add all values. So let's click on that. And there's only 2. Okay, we saw what they were a little bit ago. So these are the only 2 values. And our picture should match the bottom of page 220, except our colors may be a little bit different. Okay, so now, since we've added the categories, I'm going to actually get out of here for a second, and it looks like we've got a pale green and kind of a light purple or pink there, so I'm going to click on OK. And there's a park that's the purple, there's a park that's the green, there's a green, purple, and they're kind of small relative to the size of the map, but you can see on my parks layer. And as a matter of fact, if I took off like the counties layer, then and southeast, whatever that is, and now it's pretty easy to see what where the parks are. But let's turn those back on. And now I want to go back into right click on state parks again, go back to properties and go to the Symbology tab, and now we're on number 7 on page 221. And what we want to do here is click on this, or double click on this symbol. I'll widen this a little bit. It tells me this is the symbol that's going to be used to draw this on the map. So I want to double click on that. And that's going to give me some choices for changing what this symbol looks like. And we want sun. And for the outline color, we want no color, so there will not be an outline around those. I'm not sure I'd remove the outline, but that's what they're doing. And then click OK to close the symbol selector. So click OK. And now let's go to page 222, and we want to double click on the other one here. And what we're going to do with this one is we're going to click the green color chip and do no color for the outline. So we want green, and outline color will be no color. And then we want to click OK to close the symbol selector dialog box. And then we want to click OK to close the layer properties dialog box. Now we should have yellow and green for our two different types of state parks, and those actually show up pretty well now. Now we're on page 222, number 9, and in the table of contents, click Public Access twice slowly to make it editable. Okay, so I clicked on it twice, and we want to change that to Public Access. And on your own, it says explore other polygon symbols in the default Esri symbol styles. For example, give major lakes the symbol for swamp or glacier. So let's go here and take a look, right click and look at major lakes and go to properties. And we want to go to the Symbology tab. And we want to double click on that. And let's kind of scroll down here. And what did it say some of the options were? Swamp or glacier. So let's look over here, and there's actually got a lake there too. Looks like I have to scroll down a little bit, and okay, there's a swamp, and there's a glacier. Okay, so those are some other options. And we'll cancel out of there, and we will go on to the top of page 223. So let's cancel out of this too. And it says turn on cities. So let's turn on cities there, and we've got a bunch of them, and we want to display only the larger cities. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell ArcMap to hide some of the cities and show us the other ones. So now we're on page 224 on number 11. We want to open the properties of the cities layer, so let's right click on that, and properties, remember, affects how it looks. Then we want to do the definition query, and then we want to go to the query builder. Okay, now if you have any database, query is a database term that basically means ask a question of the database and it will return with all of the records that answer that question. So a query is basically just a question, and it's basically a rule that we use for selecting some of the cities and not selecting other ones. So let's click on Query Builder here, and what we're going to do is we're going to double click on Pop Range, which is population range. If you didn't know that, you could go in and look at some of the metadata and figure that out. And what I want is equals, and now what are the values that go in there? Well, I don't know, and you're not really expected to remember all that stuff, but we can click on Get Unique Values, and it will give us a list of all the different possible values that are there. And what we want is 100,000 to 249,999, and I want to double click that, or I can click on it and I guess I have to double click on it. I thought there was another way to do it. And I want the bigger cities though too. And you see that you know, 100,000 to 249,000. We've also got 250,000. We don't want this. I'm not sure why they're in that order, but we'll probably want this one too, because we want, it looks like we want everything bigger than 100,000. So it'd be this row, and this row. Okay. And so I've got to give it 3 rules. And I wanted to select the city if its range is in 100,000 to 249,999, or, so now we have to click and type, or click on or. You could type it if you wanted to, but I found out that it's generally better if you just kind of click on things that are up here and let it build the query for you. So the next part of the rule is or. Now you might want to say pop range equals 100,000 to 249,000, or 250,000 to 499,000, or 500,000 to 999,000, but you can't do that. When you're building a query like this, the rules are that you have to have on each side of the word or, you have to have a complete query, which means you have to put pop range in there again. So you can't quite do it like you would do in English. Equals 250,000, and you don't need to put these on separate lines like I'm doing. I'm trying to make it a little bit easier to see. And then let's do or again, and then I'm going to hit enter. And the last thing is going to be pop range equals, whoops, I don't double click on equals, that's a button. So back up here. And the last one is 500,000, double click on that, and it puts it in. And now I should get rid of some of these blank lines here. You can actually read it all at once without having to scroll. Whoops. So it should look like that, which is also what they have on the top of page 225. So it should select only cities that are 100,000 to 1,000,000. If there's anything more than 1,000,000, that doesn't look like it's an option here. So maybe they don't have any cities in that category, or if they do, they're undetermined. So let's click on OK. And we want to click on OK to close the query builder. And now when it draws the cities, you know, it was really cluttered before. Now we've got a pretty small number of cities there. If you turn to page 226, our map should look like the map on page 226. It looks like theirs doesn't have this top one here, but that's just because it is kind of like, their map is a little bit like this, I guess, or it's just a little bit larger. They're probably doing a different resolution than I am. It says we could have created a simpler query, which would be population 2,000 is greater than or equal to 100,000. And just to show you how to do that one, we're going to go back in here and we're going to look at cities, and we're going to go to the properties, and we're going to do the query builder, and we're going to delete what's there and clear, and we're going to do not pop range, but there's a pop 2,000, which is the actual population. Okay, so I want everybody who is greater than or equal to, and again I double click on a button, and you're not supposed to do that, just click on a button once, and 1,000,000, or I'm sorry, 100,000. And a lot of times you're not allowed to put commas in numbers, but I think ArcMap is pretty lenient about that. Now let's click on OK, and we should get the same set that we had before. And this is very interesting because we are not getting the same ones that we got before. We are missing, unless I, no, there should be a few right here. There should be one right there. So I'm a little bit curious about that. One or more layers. What's this here? An invalid SQL statement was used. Maybe it does not like the comma, although that's what it's, there's a comma in it in the book. So let's right click here and let's go to properties, and I'm going to try and just backspace over that comma, and I'm going to click on OK, and we'll see if that works any better, and it does. And my little drawing errors box down here appears to be empty now. So it did not like commas in that instance. Okay, now we want to change, I'm at the top of page 227 now, number 17. And what we want to do is we want to change the symbol for cities. Okay, so there's the symbol right there underneath the layer name. And we can just click on it. And let me see, we want the size to be 10, so you need to type a 10 or just bounce on the up arrow here. And in the table of contents, right-click cities. It doesn't say anything about clicking OK here, but I think we need to click on OK before we can do the next thing. So they were 4 before, and now they're 10, so they should be like 2.5 times as big. Oh, you know what? I was mistaking my shipwrecks for cities before. It wasn't showing any cities before, I'll bet. I had 2 dots there that looked an awful lot alike. Now we're on page 227, number 18. In the table of contents, right-click cities and click label features, which is right here. And that will cause labels to appear on the features that I have. And there will always be a default column for a label, and most of the time that's what you want, but not all the time. So in this case, we're fine. If that didn't work out, we can go to cities here and right-click and go to properties. And the other way is to go to labels here and tell we want to label them. And what we did with that shortcut a minute ago is basically just turned this on. You can also go here, and if you think it's a little too small, you can change the font size. Let's make the font size 10. Let's make them bold. And and this is where you specify the field. So if the wrong field is showing up, if there's something that doesn't mean anything to you that's showing up here for a label, just go in here and go to the label field and pick out what you think should be the correct one, and then click on OK. And if the label shows up, then you're good. And I just made those bigger and bolder, and now it's a little bit easier to read, except maybe for a couple of these here that are they're all so close together, they're kind of overlapping, and the text is a little bit harder to read. Now we're on page 228, and on number 19 it says rename the cities layer, cities pop 100,000 plus. So click on it, it's already selected, click on it a second time, and then click on the end to move the cursor to the end, and POP for population 100,000 plus, and hit enter. And then we're ready to save our work, and that is the end of, so click on our little save icon up here, the little floppy disk, which hasn't been used for years. And now that's the end of 7B, so that's the end of this video.